Welcome back, everybody, to Murg Mayhem, where one take can cause mayhem. I hope everybody's having a good day today. Today's going to be roughly short because there's nothing really happened again. I know I said that in the last episode, and it was pretty long. But today, I really have nothing to talk about. But it's just MLB news, MLB stuff that happened. I do know that in the NFL, Mike Davis did retire. He was a running back for the Ravens. Came in as a wide receiver in 2013, and then he switched over to running back his last 3 years in the league. And even though this year was the year for the Ravens to win it all, so I was rooting for them to beat Kansas City just so they can get to the Super Bowl, because I just felt like this was their year. Unfortunately, that was not the case. So, but yeah, hopefully he has a good retirement. Played about 6 years in the league, 6 to 8, and as a receiver, and trying to transition to a running back. That's going to be really, really tough. But yeah, retiring at the age of 29. Hopefully he has a good retirement. Some of the MLB news. Eric Hosmer retired today, or announced his retirement. He's 34. I kind of felt like it was on the wall, to be honest, just because he hasn't really been the producer he was in Kansas City. He was producing in 2020 in that shortened season. He hit 287, but since then, he hasn't really been the player that he was. And he had a good run. He was one of the better first basemen in the league for a good stretch from around, I would say, 2012 to about 2017. So good first baseman for about a good 4 to 6 years, I will say, just to give some wiggle room there. One of the best first basemen in 4 to 6 years. He was an all-star in 2016. In that year, he played 158 games, 266, OPS of 761. In that year, he also, he didn't win a Gold Glove, but in his career, he's got 4 of them. He's got 4 Gold Gloves. Won the World Series with the Royals in 2015 against the Mets. He won a Silver Slugger, and he was an All-Star Game MVP. He played for about 5 teams. Well, played 4 teams, but with different management under when he was with the Padres. So he played for 4 teams: Kansas City, the Padres, the Boston Red Sox, and the Chicago Cubs, which was last year. But he only played 31 games for him, and just wasn't the producer that he was. And I think that the Chicago has a lot of young talent that they need to start developing. So it was unfortunately, it's always sad to see a guy like him go, just because I've watched him growing up, and as far as a guy that a player would sure want to be, as far as a role model and a good example, he is a good one for younger players to look up to in that way. So sucks that he's going, but like every star and every good player, they have to. And when it's an end, it's an end, and it's just always sad when that happens. But good luck to Eric Hosmer, and hopefully he gets an advisory role with the Royals, or has some type of organizational advisory role somewhere. The next one that came up is, well, with other news, was that the New York Mets are moving Brandon Nimmo to left field and having Harrison Bader in center field. Harrison Bader got signed late last year in 2023. what does Harrison Bader bring you? Harrison Bader's a pretty good defensive outfielder. He played with the Yankees, and I think when they played them, it was 2022. I think when they played or 21 when they played Cleveland, which at 21 or 22 had an offensive surge going against Cleveland, and then unfortunately the Yankees losing to the Astros yet again. Harrison Bader is not one of those guys that's going to just out hit everyone. He's not going to be somebody that's going to hit 20 homers, but he is a guy that's going to want to get on base, good contact hitter. Nimmo signed a pretty long contract with the Mets. He is one of their younger pieces. So when they're like, oh, we want you to move to left field, probably due to some injury concern, just down the line, because he is 30, and the contract that he did sign at the end of 2023 was 8 years, 162 million. So that is a lot of money and a lot of time for Brandon Nimmo, because if he is 30 already, about to be 31 pretty soon, then yeah, it's a smart move to put him there, even though he's a great defensive center fielder. It's just last year he hit 274, 24 homers, 89 runs, which means that he was on the base and scored 89 times, 68 RBIs. Played 152 games. If he's going to be playing that many games, he's got to be a corner outfielder just for health purposes. Plus Harrison Bader. Harrison Bader is a little bit younger, even though he's only a year younger. You can always find another defensive guy for center field. Last year he hit 232 in fairly limited time with the Yankees last year. He only played 97 games, so it's not like he had a big sample size. But yeah, you could always find another guy like Harrison Bader. But yeah, I think that's a great move for the Mets for them to do. Just because if he's going to be hitting leadoff, you don't want him to be like Judge when he was playing center field, having that stress and responsibility that you got to be the center fielder, basically the best defender out there as well. So good move by them. Very, very smart. Do I still think that the Mets are going to win or win the World Series? No. Do I think they're going to go to the playoffs? Absolutely not. The team that they have constructed isn't a bad team, but when you look at everybody else that's there, I mean, yes, you have a lot. Pete Alonso, you have Francisco Alvarez, who just got an extension, but I'm not really hung up on him right now. I don't really think he's going to be that catcher for the future for him. I mean, he is young, so who knows what could happen. But the rotation isn't bad. It's just, when you had Scherzer and Verlander, you were more dangerous. But they have Kodai Senga, who was a rookie last year, came in, had a great rookie year. So I expect him to be better and improve. Luis Severino, former Yankee, hopefully he can stay healthy. That's the only thing. Jose Quintana, old. Shamanaya, low velocity, but he's lefty. So Adrian Hauser, underrated. Everybody else, Tyler McGill was a bullpen guy last year, but hopefully he can go in that starting role. Bullpen got better, but, I mean, Edwin Diaz wasn't the closer last year. He was injured. Adam Ottavino, disgusting. Drew Smith, Brooks Raley, gross. Jorge Lopez, outstanding. And Jake Diekman. So they have a chance with the bullpen the one thing that worries me is the offense because McNeil had an off year last year. Alonso was Pete Alonso. Third base is going to be an issue because Brett Beatty, this is going to be his first year going to be the starting without Eduardo Escobar sharing time. So hopefully he can step up big for him. If not, Joey Wendell's a class act veteran, played with Tampa Bay, one of the best contact and average hitters while he was there. So he could potentially fit in there and or second base, shortstop, or wherever you need him because he can play everywhere. Lindor, we know what Lindor is. Tyrone Taylor was with Milwaukee. So their outfield is solid. Very, very, very good. It's just, can they score runs? That's the only thing for the Mets. Can they score runs and can they defend good enough to where Kodai Senga doesn't get rocked and all these other guys, can they pitch to the 6th or 7th inning, which they don't anymore, but my mentality is if it's starting to go 6 or 7, let them go 6 or 7. But if you can just make it to the 4th or 5th, or even 6th rather, if you can go make it 5 to 6 innings with your starter and bring your bullpen in, they should be okay. But we'll see when the time comes because, I mean, the Mets and the Yankees are basically the same. They can get as many players as they want, and somehow they just fail in the postseason. So that is all about the Mets and all of that. But in the last episode, I mentioned how I was going to talk about baseball teams because spring training is here. And last time I talked about the Seattle Mariners. This time, I'm going to be talking about another AL West team who I brought up in that video. And it is the Houston Astros. Houston Astros has been that division leader for like the past 7 to 10 years now. No one has really found a way to get them off that throne. In that division, they're kind of basically reminding me of what the 90s Braves used to be. They just own that division. This year, like I said in that episode, with Texas beating them in the ALCS, and last year and then the Rangers ended up winning the World Series. Not only is they're going to have that battle with Texas, but they're also going to be dealing with Seattle Mariners. I still think that the Houston Astros are going to win the division again, just because it like you can never count the Astros out of anything, especially when they got what they got in the offseason this year. They got Josh Hader, they had Ryan Presley probably going to that setup role, but even when you pitch Josh Hader if he needs some breaks, Ryan Presley can be that closing guy for you. So they basically have 2 closers on that team if they need to. They have Forrest Whitley, who is I'm talking about the bullpen right now, if you couldn't tell, but Forrest Whitley, I play MLB The Show. So in the show, he was a starter. Could he be a starter in the future? Potentially. He does have the stuff to do that. But as of now, their starting rotation is so deep, and we will get into that in a second. Kendall Graveman, breakout year in Seattle, and then he went to the White Sox. Didn't really go so well, and now he's found a place in Houston. Brian Abreu throws 102. So as far as the guys that I just mentioned, they're going to be fine. I think that they have 2 lefties. Parker Machinsky had an ERA of 5.52, so that's not really good. He only pitched 14 games, so he was most likely just a lefty specialist. But ERA is not good, and the other lefty that was there is Bennett Sousa, ERA of 4, 7 games. So it looks like the only lefty that they're going to be rocking with for the most part is Josh Hader. So if they can find a good lefty reliever other than Hader, that would be ideal for them to try to get. But I mean, with their starting rotation, like they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys. They have 8, according to MLB.com Astros depth chart. They have 8 guys that could be. They have 8 guys in their starting rotation, which is I've never seen something like this as a fan, as a sports enthusiast, as a baseball. I won't call myself an analyst, but someone that watches baseball, eats, breathes, lives baseball. Like I'm going to show you guys what I'm looking at here, just so you kind of understand what is if I can find it. Here we go. This is what I'm looking at right here. Justin Verlander. Obviously, he's going to be in the starting rotation. Framber Valdez was the ace last year before Verlander got there, which he is the ace. Verlander is getting a little older, so he's probably going to potentially be that Clayton Kershaw role where he's going to be a pitcher, but he's going to be like a game 3 or a game 4 potentially starter for when they go to the postseason. He's going to be the guy that's probably game 3. But yeah, Framber Valdez, Christian Javier. I personally think he's a better bullpen arm than he is a starter, but he did prove a lot last year in that starting role. Jose Urquidy. I mean, like, I can't. I don't really know what else to say other than I'm just shocked that all these guys right here can. Like, even if you just took Verlander, Valdez, Javier Urquidy, and Lance McCullers, if that was your starting rotation for the regular season, these 3 guys, Garcia, Brown, and France, could be starting pitchers on any other team and be a really good starter for everyone else. But it's insane how deep they are, and that's why they've been one of the better teams since 2017, even though they did cheat and that controversy and everything right there. But if you want to take 2017 out, then they've been the best team in the AL West since 2020. So, but yeah, that's just pitching, folks. That's just their pitching. Offensively, they gave up on Martin Maldonado, even though he was a defensive guy. He was a defensive catcher. He wasn't going to give you much offensively. I think he hit like 190 or something. Pretty shitty, but like, I mean, as a catcher, you don't really expect him to hit very, very, very well, and it's very rare to see catchers hit. Will Smith, JT Realmuto. JT Realmuto can do everything. Yasmani Grandal is a good hitting catcher. I'm trying to think. Mitch Garver, Jonah Heim, Cal Raleigh. So those are just examples. There's probably more, but those are some of the elite offensive catchers in this league. But this year they have Victor Caratini, switch hitter, and then Yanier Diaz, who was there last year. So they lost a defensive guy, but the only reason why that's important is because he had a relationship with at least all of these guys. He caught most of them. So, the catchers are going to have to learn their pitching staff from square one. But that's what spring training is all about, and I think they'll be fine. First, their lineup, I'm not really sure, but as far as the catcher, I'm going to leave that out because I'm not really sure who's the better player out of these two, but it's going to be Jose Abreu is going to be in there. Altuve, Bregman, Jeremy Pena, Chas McCormick. Center fielder, I'm not really sure because Mauricio Dubon can play center, Jake Myers can play center, and Chas McCormick can play center. So the center, the outfield is a little iffy, but Kyle Tucker's going to be in there. Jordan's going to be DH. So all of the thing is, the crazy thing about Houston is that they have guys that are really good at driving runners in, scoring position. They're a very good situational hitting team. And when you have guys that can control the strike zone, like Altuve being only 5'6" and not being able to, not chasing, so, I mean, in the regular season, Altuve hit 311, 17 homers. As far as power numbers, that was pretty low for him last year. He's normally been in the mid 20s to low 30s, but so power numbers kind of took a hit last year because he only played 90 games. I know he was dealing with some injuries, but so hopefully he has a good healthy season for us baseball fans to watch. For the Astros, my predictions for them: they're going to win the AL West. It's a safe bet, and to be honest, I really don't want them to win the AL West because I really want Seattle Mariners to win, just because they're not the team that everyone expects to win, just because of how young they are, like I discussed in that episode, but just because I know it's a little bit biased for 2017, but it's very hard to root for the Astros after that. And if you're not from Houston, if you're not from Texas, if you're not a Houston Astros fan your whole life, they cheated in the game of baseball, and that's just something that I'm still trying to get over a little bit, just because of the integrity of the game. And but yeah, I feel like they're gonna win the AL West, and have that bye. But as far as the American League, I'm not sure they are the best team in the American League, even though their track record says otherwise. On paper, they're a top 5 AL team. But yeah, that we'll just have to see how everything plays out. Wednesday, I'm not really sure what Wednesday is. I can't remember at the top of my head. I think it was Wishful Wednesday. But as far as wishing goes, I really do hope that Anthony Rendon plays. Anthony Rendon, with his time in the Nationals organization, Anthony Rendon, when he was with the Nationals, was one of the best third basemen, if not the best third baseman in all of baseball. 2019, he went to his first All-Star game. He could have been an All-Star in 2017 because with the fans, it's kind of hard to kind of say because of how much fans have control of the All-Star game. Came in the league 2013, but 2016 he started coming into fruition and coming into the show. I mean, 2017, 301, 2018, 308, 2019, which could have been his MVP year. He was third in MVP voting in the National League, but he led the league in doubles, and he had 126 RBIs. That year, they also won the World Series. That was the year without Bryce Harper, when Bryce Harper left to go to Philly. They had Max Scherzer. They had Steven Strasburg. And ever since that year, when he signed that mega deal to the Angels, 7 years, $245. Signed that in 2020. 2020, he played 52 out of the 62, 52 games out of the 60 and hit 286, didn't do too bad. And then after that, hasn't even played over 60 games. And I know injuries are injury. He's been very injury prone. I've played with injuries, and I know how hard it is to come back from it. But like, it's terrible because that was when Pujols was still there. Pujols was there. I'm pretty sure Pujols was there. Trout was there, and Ohtani was there. So, I don't know if the Angels are cursed, but he's got this year. He's got 3 years. He's got this year and 2 more after. And I do feel like after this contract is up, he's most likely gonna retire. And he said it's like he doesn't which is when he said that baseball is not a top priority. He's not wrong, but he's also not right in a sense either, because as a consumer, as a fan who watches the game, you want the stars to play. And he's saying that his faith, his family is before baseball, as it should. All in agreement there. But at the same time, you're making you're in a 7-year, $245 million deal. And you haven't been there. And every year the Angels, for somehow, it's like before Ohtani left, and before Pujols left, and when Trout was in his younger years with Cole Calhoun and Jared Weaver, and I think when C.J. Wilson was there, and Andrelton Simmons, like, they would play really great in the first half of the season. Oh my God, they have a chance to go to the postseason. I'm like, oh shit, okay, all right, let's go. And then All-Star break, they're in the hunt with the Astros, and I'm like, okay, awesome. I'm getting really excited because Pujols is my favorite player, so I've always wanted Pujols to keep going. And Trout, Trout's arguably the best player ever. And then when Ohtani was there with those two, and when Doan was playing, I'm like, okay, this has with Andrelton Simmons, and we're working with something. Yes, pitching needs help, but we need to score runs. That's all. That's what the game of baseball is about: scoring runs. And pitching. You can pitch all you want, but if you can't score runs, you're not going to win. DeGrom taught you that. But yeah, Anthony Rendon hasn't been there, and then when he would get injured and go down, it just seemed like everything just fell apart in the second half of the season. And last year when Ohtani was there, they had Hunter Renfroe, they had good pieces, they had just basic. Their starting rotation was mid. You have Ohtani as your ace, Patrick Sandoval isn't bad, and Reed Detmers isn't too bad either. But your bullpen wasn't good, and the Logan O'Hoppe was injured, and when he was playing, he was doing really well. Could have been Rookie of the Year if he didn't get injured. Zach Neto slumped a little bit, and then he found his way. He got more confident. Mickey Moniak, he was a game changer. So, I just hope he comes. That my wish is that he comes back, and it's a compound wish here. But genies give you 3 wishes. I can only think of 2. But yeah, I just wish that Anthony Rendon comes back healthy, because if not, Mike Trout's gonna leave. He's tried to pull the Damian Lillard route and stay as long as he can, but Mike Trout, you're a top 5, top 10 baseball player of all time, and if you need a World Series, because you're going to be like Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. is a top 10 baseball player of all time. And if he was a World Series champion, he would have been top 5, if not top 3. In my opinion, just because on a Tuesday, I'll get into why I would put him in top 3, just because of well, we'll get into that later, like I said. But my 3 wishes. Anthony Rendon comes back healthy, plays 162 games, or not 162, but it plays at least 140. The Angels figure this shit out and get pieces to find a way to improve. Whether it's pitching, hitting, whatever the fuck it is, they got to figure this shit out, because they are the laughing stock. If you look at every LA team, every California team, they are the laughing stock of California right now. And 3, that is all, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I'll try to, like I said, I'll try to get that Monday episode figured out. If not, then I'll just do an episode of that tomorrow. But yeah, I finally said we'll keep it short. But yeah, I was able to figure that out. And like I said, my last wish. I hope everyone has a good rest of your day. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.